What is going on? Welcome back to another edition of Did You See That? More importantly, welcome back to another edition of the Michael J Fox Filmography. That's right, so if you've missed out so far, I've been covering the Michael J Fox Filmography throughout my channel as of right now, and there's a link in the description down below where you can catch a playlist of every movie that I'm going to be covering in this series. And today, I am joined by a very familiar guest who you've seen on this channel quite a few times and who was also featured on the class of 1984. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to my guest today, Rashad G from Rashad G Reviews. And man, take it away, tell the people who you are and a little bit about when the first time was that you saw Teen Wolf.
Mike, what's the deal? Pickles is everything culture. Thank you once again for having me on your channel and to review one of my personal favorite movies of the 80s, Teen Wolf, starring Michael J. Fox, dropped the same time as Back to the Future, goddammit. By the way, the channel is Rashad G Reviews. Come check me out. I talk movies, I talk shows, I talk documentaries. I sometimes cook a meal and watch a movie. I just pretty much talk about whatever I want on my channel, so feel free to stop by, say what's up. Okay, so this is the second movie I'm helping you collab in your Michael J. Fox series. So we did Class of 1984. Now we're doing Teen Wolf. I'm probably going to put my foot in my mouth. Please don't ask me to do Back to the Future 3, and you're probably going to ask me to do Back to the Future 3. I first heard about this movie at the local video store. I just happened to be walking around the new release section, and mind you, Back to the Future is still a new release, but then they released another new release about a couple of weeks after Back to the Future. And it's the box art of Michael J. Fox opening up his jacket, says Teen Wolf on it, and he's got hairy palms. And so I said, all right. I did really like Back to the Future, and so, you know, that's what the studio wanted, you know, because they filmed Teen Wolf, I believe, before Back to the Future, but then because Back to the Future became a success, I guess the studio that did Teen Wolf said, well, shit, we got to capitalize on its popularity and the popularity of this movie, drop Teen Wolf, you know, so we got to make some money off of this, and that's what they did. I watched Teen Wolf more than I did Back to the Future. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Back to the Future is the better movie, don't get me wrong, but as far as rewatchability, for me, I've always liked Teen Wolf more. And I think because I was crushing on Booth. You know, Booth was fine as hell. Booth can still get it. Shit.
Hell yeah, I've got Rashad G back onto the channel yet again to talk about another film into the Michael J Fox filmography. So when I actually kind of first was talking about this project, Rashad and I was talking, and he said, man, I've got to join you on Class of 1984 and Teen Wolf, as he loved both of those movies. And I was like, well, hell yeah, man, I'd love to have you onto the channel. Rashad, my man, so cool to hear that you actually first checked out this movie when you were younger and kind of like in the video store, I believe you said, when you saw the Back to the Future cover, and then a couple of weeks later, Teen Wolf was released. And you are right, they released Teen Wolf initially in 1985 to kind of capitalize off the success of Back to the Future. Michael J Fox was becoming this even bigger name than he already was in, say, Family Ties. And with that popularity, people were cashing in, especially the studio was like, oh wow, let's get this guy on Teen Wolf, let's get this movie released. And that is what happened in 1985, because the movie itself is directed by Rod Daniel. Now, I actually haven't heard of Rod Daniel. By the way, rest in peace to Rod Daniel, because I actually learned and found out that in 2016 he passed away due to complications of having Parkinson's disease. But also I learned that Rod Daniel had directed movies like K9, The Super, and Home Alone 4. Maybe not talk about that last one. Either way, the guy directed several movies, but I believe Teen Wolf was his kind of like biggest hit. So the movie itself stars, of course, Michael J Fox as Scott Howard. We also have James Hampton as Harold Howard. We've also got Susan Ursitti as Booth. We've also got Jerry Levine as Styles, Laurie Griffin as Pamela. So essentially the plot of Teen Wolf is teenage misfit Scott Howard is initially dismayed to learn that he's a werewolf. However, he soon realises that his hereditary curse has its advantages. So what I can honestly say about my quick initial thoughts on Teen Wolf before I hand it back to Rashad is that I had actually only seen this movie twice in my entire life. I watched it when I was a lot younger, so I didn't really remember much about this movie, and I actually revisited maybe a week or so ago, so I'm a little bit late to actually shooting this review compared to actually when I watched it. I enjoyed this movie. It's kind of like a mindless entertainment fun movie that is just really, really cool. Now, the concept alone, which Rashad will touch on, is just daft. You know, you're not going to have anyone transitioning into a werewolf, you know, and especially with a school like so accepting of that. I mean, yes, of course, when he turns into the werewolf, he essentially becomes this kind of like figurehead in terms of everyone wants him to be the wolf and not Scott Howard because he's helping them win basketball games. I can understand from that point of view, as soon as Michael J Fox kind of grabs some positivity and kind of like something in his life where he's kind of popular for once instead of being kind of like the outcast of things. He's kind of going to take advantage of that. So I understand from that point of view where it's come from. But overall, it's just a really entertaining movie. I really found the chemistry between Michael J. Fox's character of Scott Howard and, of course, Jerry Levine, who plays Styles. The chemistry of their friendship is pretty cool. Yeah, Styles is an awesome kind of side character that we get introduced to. But also Susan Ursitti as Booth is great. I generally love the cast in this overall, and it's a shame to hear that Michael J. Fox didn't want to come back for Teen Wolf 2 because he didn't want to go through kind of the production and makeup, but also he didn't actually like this movie for a certain amount of time, which is probably understandable. At the end of the day, he was very young into his career. At that point, you kind of have to be not as choosy as to what roles you go for. You have to kind of go for whatever roles you're given to, of course, succeed and start making a name for yourself in Hollywood. And I guess Teen Wolf was maybe one of these films for him where he felt like he was kind of obliged to do it in terms of, yes, he auditioned for it, but as soon as he maybe got through the film, he was like, why did I do that for? You know, so with all that in mind, let me hand it straight back over to my guest of Rashad. Rashad, my man, you've seen this movie plenty more times than I generally have. So what are your positives for Teen Wolf?
What I love about this movie is the straightforward story, okay? This is a ridiculous premise about a boy who at puberty turns into a werewolf. His daddy's a werewolf. And he has to cope with this power. Shit that we've seen many times, you know, Spider-Man and shit like that. And there's even a quote from Spider-Man where the daddy says, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. So the straightforwardness of the story, the performance by Michael J. Fox, even though this is a ridiculous story, but he made it very believable. And Michael J. Fox is just real likable, man. How can you not love the guy? You know, he just oozes of charisma. And did I mention that I was crushing on Booth? Yeah, Booth can get it. At the time, the makeup effects was pretty damn good. Like, even when you watch it now, you know, it's practical effect. You can tell they got the little bubble machine in his face, like making his face go, rah. But it's still believable. You know, hell, I'll believe that over American Werewolf in Paris special effects. If you've seen that movie, that looks like a PlayStation 2 game gone wrong. And the message of the movie, you know, even though it's called Teen Wolf, but there's a message of, you know, because people liked him when he was the wolf. But when he was Scott Howard, nobody gave a fuck about him. They liked him for the wolf. But, you know, because he embraced being popular, he was never popular before. He says, you know what, I like this shit. I'm going to keep being the wolf. But now he realizes that that's all they like me for. And I got to change this shit. You know what I mean? And that's how, you know, look, I love a story with a good message. And I watched it with my 5-year-old son, and he was like, so they like him when he's himself. I said, yes, son. I said, you got it.
Well, firstly, I've just got to say, it's so great hearing Rashad's positives and how he even got his son to watch this movie. Yeah, he may have told a little bit of a fib about him being the Incredible Hulk. But either way, really, really cool to hear that his son also enjoyed this movie. One thing I am going to say, Rashad, though, is, guys, I hope you've enjoyed Rashad being on this channel, because him shitting on Back to the Future, he ain't coming back again. I'm, of course, just kidding, Rashad. You're welcome anytime, man. But no, honestly, I love Rashad's thoughts on the positives that he had about this. I've got to agree. I love the fact of Scott Howard and Booth's relationship through this and how that's built throughout. And the fact that I'm kind of blinded by what's in front of him, because Booth, throughout this movie, shows that she loves him, that she's got a huge crush on Scott Howard, Michael J. Fox's character. However, he's so fascinated with Pamela that he's trying to do anything and everything that he can to grab her attention. And by all means, sometimes that might be a good thing. That might work out for several people, absolutely. But really, what is in front of you is going to be mostly the best option, because at the end of the day, if you had to choose between the two, Booth is going to be the most loyal out of the two, ultimately, in terms of, say, if eventually he's going to want a life partner, Booth is going to be that person, not Pamela. At the end of the day, if Scott Howard becomes unpopular one day, he's going to get pied off, you know. You know, so yeah, I really, really enjoyed the movie. I also love the fact that this is just a really highly rewatchable movie. I actually kind of want to go back and rewatch this again. And the soundtrack that complemented this movie worked really, really well. Yes, they may over-repeat one or two songs. The soundtrack fits into that 80s movie. And those kind of 80s movies, there's something about them that really just work for that timepiece, but also hold up mostly to nowadays, where they're kind of one of the most rewatchable sorts of movies. So with all that in mind, Rashad, my man, if anything at all, have you got any negatives for Teen Wolf? Tell the people what your negatives are.
The negatives in this movie is the basketball scenes. I like the basketball scenes because they're inspiring, but at the same time, they're cheesy as hell. And you can clearly see the stunt double. Okay, Michael J. Fox is about 5'6", 110 pounds soaking wet with a brick. the stunt double is clearly at least 5'10", maybe 6 feet, and you could tell it was a black dude because he had some, you know, some Negro features. I can say that shit. I'm black. I can say that shit. But yeah, the stunt double is not believable. The basketball scenes, you could tell they kept looping the same shit over and over again, but from different angles, and it kind of takes you out of it a little bit, but not so much. Other than that, I had no negatives with this movie. I thought it was well paced, well acted. You know, it's a comedy, but a comedy with a heart and with a message. And, you know, and I guess I like this more than Back to the Future because this was mostly about Michael J. Fox and his character and his arc and his journey, you know. And Back to the Future is kind of like that, but it's more about him redeeming his pops, you know, George McFly, you know. It's about him redeeming his pops and getting his parents together. So it's not, the focus is not so much really on his story, but him getting his pops and his moms together so he can get back home. But don't get me wrong, I still love Back to the Future. Mike, don't snuff me for saying that shit.
Well, I'm glad that Rashad pointed out the stunt double part. Yeah, I realised that throughout the basketball game, he's absolutely right, Rashad. You hit the nail on the head. You can definitely tell that some of the shots is kind of just rinse, repeat. They've just used it as at different angles, as you mentioned. And you can also tell that the Michael J. Fox in the wolf costume, for the close-ups, is great. But on the basketball court, person's a giant. I was like, Michael J. Fox is a midget compared to all the players, and now all of a sudden, he's massive. And yes, obviously with the kind of aesthetic of being a werewolf, yes, you might grow in height, but maybe not that much. At the end of the day, it's kind of like genetics as this werewolf that he is, so surely you would kind of remain the same height. So yeah, some of the logic behind that doesn't work as well. Definitely, I think some of the basketball scenes are cheesy, but actually, I enjoyed them. I'm a sucker for kind of like a sports movie, so for the basketball scenes, I thoroughly enjoyed them. But I can definitely see the gripes that you had, man, with those scenes. With that all that in mind, Rashad, my man, I'm going to hand it back over to you. Have you got any final thoughts for the movie?
Final thoughts is, I love Teen Wolf. You know, this is a movie that I will rewatch at least once a year. I showed it to both my kids. They both love it. And I don't know, well, you know what, Mike, I don't take it as I'm shitting on Back to the Future. I'm not. But I tried showing my kids Back to the Future. They checked out. But my son was fascinated with Teen Wolf because just the fact that this boy can turn into a wolf. And I guess he was getting Incredible Hulk vibes from it because he's like, does he turn into the wolf when he gets mad? And just to keep his interest, I said, yeah, son, when he gets mad, he turns into the wolf. And he watched the entire movie. And did I mention that I have a crush on Booth? Yeah. But my son said he liked the blonde-headed girl better. And I said, son, there's much to teach you because that's what you call a gold digger. Okay, that's what you call the chick that only likes you for your money or your fame, and she is no good. So when he walked past her at the end, when he brushed past her, get the fuck away from me, and he went to Booth, I applauded. Bravo, way to go, Scott, way to go. Teen Wolf gets an A+. That's it, and that's all. So, yeah, thanks again for having me on the channel, man. Looking forward to our next collab. To you and your subscribers, love, peace, and soul. That was so fucking cool. All right, man, later. I'm out.
I think throughout all these portions that Rashad's been speaking, there's a clear understanding here that he just doesn't really want to revisit Back to the Future. I love you, bro. It's all good. It's all good. Just kidding. But now, man, yeah, it's really cool to hear your final thoughts and your grade of this of an A+. Now, I'm not sure if I can rank it that high. My score for Teen Wolf is... So yeah, firstly, I've just got to give a huge thank you to Rashad G from Rashad G Reviews. Man, thank you so much for just collabing with me on my channel. Whenever I hit Rashad up, he's like, yeah, man, let's get to it. And yeah, I love hearing your thoughts on movies, man. You've just got such a way about talking about them as well. Please, whatever you guys do after you've checked out this video, go subscribe to Rashad's channel. His link to his channel is down below in the description box. Go give him some love. Tell him that I sent you. But in the meantime, please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until the next time that I see you, I'll be seeing you later.